A slide in commodity prices was considered to be at the heart of a worsening Australia trade balance, according to data released last week. My next guest, Richard Robinson, senior economist at BIS Shrapnel, joins me now to discuss the connection between this and what it means for resources investment. I'm Natalie MacDonald, you're watching Sydney Direct. Richard Robinson, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Okay, so shares did take a hit on news of those weakening commodities prices. Just how far-reaching is the commodities ripple effect?
It affects suppliers. It affects the suppliers, the contractors, the investment by mining companies, and that's got a ripple-on effect. It even goes down as far as something like the office demand, but particularly in Perth and Brisbane. So their office demand there's been slashed, and those markets are now oversupplied, and they're having the effects. So and eventually it's going to start hitting employment. Now it's only just started hitting employment, and as mining investment turns down, it'll hit employment, and it'll have a wider ripple effect through the economy. But mining's still a small sector in terms of employment, so it doesn't have a huge effect, but it certainly has an effect on the overall economy.
Now, you touched there on mining. Mining M&A activity is at a decade low. From this perspective, what is the general idea surrounding resources investment at the moment?
Well, resources investment has peaked last financial year. It's on our figures, it's going to go down by 40%. That's just the construction side. Equipment investment, so if you're an equipment supplier to the miners, you've already suffered about a 35% hit, and there's more to come. So that could go down probably by half. So we're looking at around about 40 to 50%. That's in total, but it's different across the sectors. Coal's probably already fallen. Well, coal's probably going to go down by about 2/3. It's well on its way, and coal's probably been hit the worst. In terms of iron ore, the iron ore miners won't fall as much, but they're probably likely to fall, close to 30 to 40%. But that's mainly because the majors like Rio and BHP, Billiton, they're still investing heavily, and why wouldn't they? Because they've got such a big price advantage over the others. That's probably, and effectively they're trying to wipe out their competition.
Now, commodity price weakening historically has never caused a recession in Australia. Can we stay firm on that stance?
Yes, I think we can. There's two aspects here. First of all, you've had this enormous amount of investment, so you've got this enormous amount of capacity coming on stream in the export markets. So in terms of net exports, Australia, that's what's going to hold up Australia. In fact, it's holding up Australia at the moment. It's probably been worth 40 or 0.5% of growth over the past year, and that'll still apply over the next 1 or 2 years. The other thing that happens with a slump in commodity prices, the Australian dollar goes down, so that helps hold up revenues for the miners, those who are still can probably stay in the market. That'll keep them afloat, and that way they'll keep exporting. And the second thing with a fall in the dollar, it actually improves the competitiveness of all those other sectors. Now, the other sectors in the Australian economy were hit really quite bad by. We saw the dollar go from 50 cents in 2000 to $1.15 or $1.10 US. It's now back under 90 cents. It helps those sectors, so those sectors will also start picking up investment and employment. So we won't see a recession, but certainly it's at the moment it feels very weak as that mining investment's turning down, and the only driver we've really got is housing at the moment.
Now, the overall commodities picture is pretty hard to gauge, really, when not only do you have domestic factors to consider, but also the economic factors of trade partners. With that in mind, what role is the slowdown in China, for example, really playing at the moment?
It's having a big effect, and we're only talking about a minor slowdown here. Their target was about 7.5%, and it looks like it's going to be closer to 7%. And at the moment, China's trying to cool its property market, and that's having an effect on steel demand, which is, of course, having a biggest effect on our two main commodities, which is coal and iron ore. So the prices for coal and iron ore have come down quite sharply. So that's having that sort of effect. But there's one thing you've got to remember here. China growing at 7% still adds more in absolute terms, in terms of GDP and probably in commodity demand, than it was 5 years ago when it was growing at 10 or 11%. So that's the sort of quantum we're talking about. So it's a problem that it's slowing down, but our outlook is that as the American economy slowly picks up, and probably the Europeans in say 4 or 5 years' time, that'll take up some of the slack that as China slows a bit. So it's important, but I think people get too carried away with the nuances of Chinese demand, and at the moment Chinese demand is probably a bit weak, but the main problem with most of the commodities, it's oversupply.
Richard, thank you very much for your time and your comments today. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting there to see Richard Robinson describe China's slowdown as a minor one. Well, that's all we've got time for right now, but don't go away, as I will be back with plenty more exclusive interviews for you right here from Sydney, Australia. Goodbye for now.